as being a tour guide on campus, I do research in the political science department. I am the vice president of the club tennis team. I play on the club volleyball team. I'm a lawyer for the mock trial team at Amherst. And I'm a law, jurisprudence, and social thought and economics double major.
Hi everyone, I'm Blake. I'm an international student from the UK, he, him, his pronouns. I'm a prospective economics and computer science major at the college. And apart from being a tour guide in the admissions office, I work for ResLife, so I work as we call them community advisors in the Res Hall, sort of making sure everything's okay. And I also work for the college's Centre for Diversity and Student Leadership as a peer mentor there. In my free time, after all that, I like to study Japanese and, yeah, get up to a lot of things on campus.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim. I use he, his pronouns, and I'm a junior neuroscience and music double major on the pre-med track. Here at Amherst, I am part of the Asian Students Association on campus, and also am a director for the Amherst College DQ, which is one of our 6 a cappella groups on campus as well. And I also serve as a mentor for one of our pre-health societies. So if you have any questions about STEM, or if you have any questions about pre-health, feel free to ask me.
Thank you for the intros, guys. For everyone who's on Zoom now, please feel free to turn your camera so we can all see you as well, and we can see each other. This is we hope that we will be able to see each other in person on campus soon. So we'll do our best to recreate that interaction on Zoom. So throughout today's 1 hour long event, if you have any questions about student life at Amherst, particularly international student experience at Amherst, if you are thinking about applying to Amherst and you want to hear some experience from our current students here who had gone through the process, feel free to send your questions through chat. Your chat will come to me directly, and then I'll share those with our students, and then we'll go through your questions together today. So we host this under the assumption that you have all participated in at least one information session or a campus tour virtually. Before we start the Q&A, I'll just give you a very brief introduction of Amherst and what sets Amherst apart from our peer institutions to refresh your memory on the college. So Amherst College is located in the western part of Massachusetts. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask where you guys are from. I saw the registration list, and you guys are registering from many different locations. Can you all send in your location from through chat so that we know where you are logging in from? So we have Hiba from India. Let me actually minimize this window here. Okay, we have Hunia from Brazil. We have Thomas from England. I might butcher your name, so apologies in advance. Lucinda from Toronto, Antonio from Brazil, Anna from Italy. I'm gonna risk this one. Evgeny from Russia, and then Sophia from Hong Kong, Isidora from Brazil as well, and we have Koa from Vietnam, Luan from England, Amita from India, Vinicius from Brazil, Kennedy from West Africa, Ghana, and Owen from Ireland. Welcome to this event. This is amazing. This is truly a global village here. So again, if you just logged in, feel free to turn on your camera so we can all see each other and have a face-to-face interaction. Okay, so Amherst Small Liberal Arts College, we're located in the western part of Massachusetts in the northeast of the United States. We are a co-ed school. We have 1,800 students who come from all over the country and the world. And this year, we're in the process of making final decisions on our applications. We have applicants applying from over 170 different countries and regions around the world. And our current students on campus represent over 60 different countries and regions. So it is truly a very global community here. Amherst College is very well known for our open curriculum, which means that there's no core curriculum or distribution requirements, which is typically found at most other colleges and universities in the United States. It means that you can freely choose courses across our course offerings of over 850 courses. You are not required to take any set of courses before you graduate. So it gives you a lot of freedom and space to really design your own educational journey here in Amherst. In the United States, only less than 10 schools have an open curriculum, and Amherst is one of them. So it's not a very common setup, and certainly is a very unique setting that really allows you to maximize your time here to fully explore your interested courses and fields that you've never been exposed to before. Given that many of our students double major, because it really makes it a lot more easier for you to focus on your interested courses. But we also have a very well developed faculty advisory system where you will be paired with a faculty member based on your initial academic interests. They will be there to make sure that you're fully supported throughout your course selection process, your academic journey here. But they will also make sure that you are taking full advantage of the open curriculum and say, you come into Amherst thinking that you want to major in history. They also want to make sure that you try something in the sciences, so that you have a pretty balanced schedule and courses on your transcript when you graduate. And also, we also want you to keep an open mind. Once you come to Amherst, we want you to try different courses because you don't have to declare a major until the end of your second year. So there's no pressure. If you are thinking about, what courses should I take now if I want to study neuroscience at Amherst? You don't have to worry about that. You can study any course that you're interested in right now in your high school, and then you can come to Amherst and then start taking courses in neuroscience or biochemistry or history, and then make your decision by the end of your second year after having taken courses in many different disciplines, because then you'll have a much better idea that that's really what you want to study. And the second thing that makes Amherst very different and unique is the 5-college consortium. Because Amherst is surrounded by 4 other wonderful colleges and universities. The closest one to us is called the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. It's a public research institution with over 31,000 students. They have undergraduate and graduate level studies. Amherst only focuses on undergraduate education. We have no graduate programs, no graduate students. Our class sizes, around 15 students, sometimes even smaller. And all the classes are taught by professors. But at UMass, because it's such a large institution, the class size might be bigger, but they also have a lot more resources, and you can utilize those resources as well as an Amherst College student. South of Amherst College, there's Hampshire College, another liberal arts college. They also have an open curriculum. Hampshire is smaller than Amherst. They have 1,400 students. They have an open curriculum. They don't have numerical grades, only written evaluations. I say these things because as a member of the 5-college consortium, you are allowed to take courses across all 5 schools. So when you take a course at Hampshire, you also get get written evaluations from their professors. Further down south from Hampshire is Multicultural College, which is the oldest women's college in the country. I don't know if you watched the Golden Globe recently. The Best Director Award was given to Chloe Zhao, who's a graduate of Multicultural College. And the movie that she made, that she directed on Nomadland, was written by Jessica Bruder, which is an Amherst alum. So it's a truly 5-college consortium collaboration. And Multicultural College is it's a women's college, but they're not alone because there's another women's college in the consortium, which is Smith College, and Smith is located in Northampton, which is to the west of Amherst. And Smith is the largest women's college in the country. And Smith also has an open curriculum. So 3 of the 5 schools here have an open curriculum. You can take courses across all 5 schools, up to 2 per semester. We offer over 6,000 courses for you to choose from. So, which means that you can really enjoy the best of both worlds, a small liberal arts, very intimate, direct faculty-student interaction at Amherst College, but also the resources that you can find in any huge research university through the consortium. The third thing I want to highlight about Amherst is our diversity. Amherst College is one of the most diverse colleges in America. Over half of our students, if you include international students, are students of color. Our students come from all over the country and the world. They truly represent many different backgrounds, social economic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, language backgrounds, and which we'll go into details through our conversations later. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about financial aid. I'm sure you all know that Amherst College is quite generous in our financial aid policies. We are knee blind in the admission process for both domestic and international students. Being knee blind means that we don't consider your ability to pay for your admission decision. So when we make admission decision on your file, we don't care whether or not you can afford Amherst. Once you're admitted based on your merits, and then we will see how much money you need to complete your education at Amherst, and then we'll meet 100% of that, up to the total cost of attendance. So that includes not just tuition, room and board, but also health insurance, travel, international round trip tickets, student activity fees. So basically everything that's budgeted for your education here in Amherst is included in the total cost of attendance. So there's no surprise charges for you. That's the most sort of generous way of packaging a financial aid package. If the total cost is $100, so let's just say hypothetically, and your family can only afford $10, so the rest of the $90 will be paid by Amherst. And within your financial aid package, there's no loans, so you don't have to worry about paying anything back after you graduate. And there are only 4 schools in the country that have this policy. Amherst is the only liberal arts college in the country that offers this extremely generous policy for all of our students, both international and domestic. So in the last academic year, over 82% of our international students received need-based financial aid with an average of over $69,000 a year. So Amherst is quite affordable when it comes to financial aid. Okay, so I'll stop here, and I'll see if you guys have any questions. We can start with your questions, and if there's no questions, I'll throw a few questions to our students so they can share their experiences here in Amherst. Here's a question for you guys. Can you take courses at Smith or Mount Holyoke as a male student from Amherst? Who wants to talk about that?
So personally, I do know a few of my upperclassmen who have done that before, and they said it was a very interesting experience. So yes, it is possible to do so. And overall, because the open curriculum expands to the 5 college consortium as well, this means that you have access to like over 6,000 courses. Like right now, not my roommate, but my hallmate is currently taking a music course, an upper level theory course, because she's planning on doing a music thesis in classical music, and to prepare for that, she's doing a UMass course. So really, because you have like a lot of, I guess like, you have a really large range of courses you can take, that means that you have a large range of classes you can take and experiences that you can find for yourself as well. And this also expands not only to like the academic aspects, but also for your classes, like the population of your classes as well. So for example, I took an Asian American history class at Amherst this semester, and it was a 4-person class, and one of these students was a Hampshire College student. So the experiences that this student had were very different from the ones that we had. And I think it added a big layer of not only like discussion, but perspective. So that was really, really fun and interesting. And I think that's what makes Amherst more Amherst as well. The fact that you can have this very wide range of perspectives.
And just to add on, I fully agree with Tim on what he said, and I've had experiences as well with other 5 college students in my classes bringing a lot of different backgrounds to our discussions. But this idea of being able to explore all of these new experiences doesn't just come with classes. I think it's also important on my tours, I like to mention events as a complement to that in the 5 College Consortium. Because of these 5 colleges, our area, the Pioneer Valley where Amherst is the second largest booking venue in all of New England after Boston. And so that means that there are always speakers, bands, authors, poets, everyone coming. And as a student at any of the 5 colleges, you can go to events at the other institutions. And so really, these experiences that you'll have don't just come from the classroom, but also outside of it. And so when someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Supreme Court Justice, or a band comes to play at one of the schools, at one of the institutions, you can either go for free, or if it's a rare, which very rarely happens, a paid event, 5 college students get a really big discount for it.
Here's another question about taking courses through the 5 College Consortium. If you take a course at UMass, can you earn credits towards your major at Amherst? Yeah.
I think yes. And I believe that current policy says that you can take up to half of I think it's just below half of your total course load, so 32 courses over your time at Amherst, 4 years. I think you can take up to 16 of them at another one of the 5 colleges. Like Amherst is really committed to this open curriculum, and I think that really shows it. Like you can spend a lot of time in the local area if you so choose.
Yeah, so there is an exception where because Amherst is a liberal arts college, you can only take courses within the liberal arts curriculum at UMass. For example, if you take a course in journalism or business, that's not going to be transferred back to Amherst College. You're actually not allowed to take a course like that, I think. Okay, so here's a good question for the next topic that we can talk about. This is from Eric. Can you please talk about some of the diversity initiatives in place in Amherst? And maybe you guys can elaborate more on some of the more internationally focused initiatives that make you feel particularly included or welcomed here in Amherst. Whoever wants to jump in first. Yeah, you can just unmute yourself and start talking.
All right, so I'm a current junior, but I think 1 or 2 years before I came on campus, the Center for International Student Engagement was founded on Amherst College campus, and Hannah Bliss, who was currently our Director of Immigration Services, but previously our Director of the Center for International Student Engagement, she was hired, and this kind of gave like a huge reboot to international student, engagement on campus. So this began with like a new kind of setting in of an international student pre-orientation before the actual real orientation with with everyone in it. So this meant that international students were able to come earlier on campus and have more one-on-one interactions with older students who had more experience living on campus. You got to set up a phone plan. We got to take you to the mall, and just like you helped to build a community beforehand. And because I would say the international community at Amherst is very tight-knit, this kind of like free, conditioning to join Amherst in this way was really, really helpful personally for me in terms of getting adjusted. And you just get set into the community very fast, and that helps with adjustment in terms of culture, but also like with your classes. And I've often gotten a lot of help from my upperclassmen in this way as well. So I would definitely say in terms of diversity, Amherst is currently changing campus with everything, and new organizations are coming up, and new task forces are also coming up as well. And I think because we're such an adaptive population, not just our students, but our faculty as well, it really shows in the different aspects of, learning and events that occur as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would totally agree with that. I think one of the benefits of being such a small liberal arts college is that by like necessarily the faculty, the administration has to be really reflective of student needs. And so there's always this sort of open dialogue between students, between faculty. And that sort of, I think, keeps them on their toes and makes sure that they really are addressing the the needs of a diverse student body. And international students definitely fit into that. Alongside SICE, I can't speak at the moment. Alongside SICE, in Keith Campus Centre, which is like our hub for everything on campus, we have the other resource centres, and these do cater for diverse populations. So we have the Women's and Gender Centre, which provides a lot of resources for female identifying students. We have the CDSL, who I work for, which is the Centre for Diversity and Student Leadership. So if you're a first in your family to go to college, or low income student, that's a really cool space. We also have the Multicultural Resource Centre, which provides a lot of cool resources for students of colour, and we have the Queer Resource Centre as well. So if you're an LGBTQ plus student, they also have a really diverse array of offerings. Like, these institutions are really active on campus, especially when COVID restrictions aren't in force, and they do a lot for students, and students really interact with them a great deal. Like, they're a very solid pillar on campus.
And so I completely agree, and just a quick fun fact is Tim was actually my international student pre-orientation leader during my first year, and I can completely confirm everything he said. It's a great experience, and coming to live in the US for the first time after spending my entire life in Brazil, it really helped to have almost this summer camp with other college students where you get used to living in the US, really get acclimated to the region, especially me, because by September it was getting cold for me, and all of that. So what I will say as well is there is one of our biggest traditions on campus is also one of my favorites. It's the City Streets Festival. And it's almost like it's basically an international fair where the nation that every student, if you come from a different part of the world, your nation will be represented at this fair, and it's filled with food from all over the world. And it's the entire student body goes, professors go, members of the administration go, professors bring their families to these festivals, and it happens every year in the spring on campus. And so you can just have fantastic food from a bunch of different cultures, and it really just puts a spotlight on Amherst international diversity.
I do miss that. That usually happens in April. It's one of my favorite events on campus. We have a lot of festivals on campus. Spring Festival, which is City Street, and then Fall Festival, Winter Festival. Those are all like big community events, which is very fun to go to. So Lewin asked, what is pre-orientation? Pre-orientation is international orientation, right? Yeah. How long is international orientation? Is it three days? Yeah.
I think it was 3 or 4 days before the actual orientation starts. So this way you can come in earlier with your flights. And we also, if you're flying in from Boston, we get like shuttles and we take you back personally to Amherst. It's about like a 2-hour drive inwards. So we'll be able to take care of that for you.
Do we pick up students from Bradley as well, or do most students fly into Boston?
Usually, most students fly in from Boston just because that's where most international flights will go. But in the case that a student did go to Bradley, I think we should be able to pick them up as well, as long as we're here before. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, students will fly into Boston or sometimes to New York.
Bradley International Airport is located in Hartford, Connecticut, which is 40 minutes away from Amherst. I often use Bradley to fly internationally, to transfer in DC or Chicago or Toronto or other cities. Here's a question about, pretty pertinent, it's about COVID. The very reason that we're doing this is because of COVID. Where's the question? Can you talk about some of the measures that have been put in place by Amherst on campus to help prevent COVID? Blake and Tim are currently on campus, and Alex, you can talk about your experience last year as well.
So in terms of COVID restrictions, I think Amherst is, well, they're very a very proactive institution. Our case rate, as far as we know, like on campus specifically, is like nearly negligible. There's been like a couple of cases. We actually have a dashboard, so you can actually have a look at the data in real time. I did see through college communications that it's apparently one of the best in terms of conveying information in the country. But in terms of actual policies, so students on campus get tested 3 times a week. So we have our alumni, like an alumni lot is all set up for testing. Everyone you walk in, sign in with your ID and get tested. And you do that 3 times a week. Apart from that, there is like reduced mobility. So students aren't currently allowed to go out into town freely. That's restricted, and as well as certain activities on campus. So the state of Massachusetts at the moment, at least I believe, to my current knowledge, was limiting group gatherings of over 10 people. So the college respects that and doesn't allow gatherings over 10 people, which is the government, so they can't really do anything about that. It does seem pretty restrictive, but in the case of Amherst, if they had massive outbreaks, we're not in a big city with loads of hospitals, we wouldn't be able to deal with that. So the college takes a realistic approach to it. But in terms of outcomes, COVID hasn't spread at Amherst. We see other institutions big outbreaks. We haven't had that. So COVID safety, they definitely get a 10 out of 10 on.
I definitely agree with everything Blake said. And also just give a perspective in terms of food. Currently we're getting food in containers that look like this. I don't know if you can see, but they're divided like this, and they're reusable. They're very nice. And yeah, I've been enjoying the food that we're getting. There's different dining hall stations set up across the campus, and you sign up for a time, and you go and check in, swipe in, and they give you your food in different containers every time. So it's been pretty accessible, and the food's been very good. And we also have delivery express for from stores in town where you can order food as well. So it's been manageable, and because we have you can order food from Whole Foods in terms of groceries. My friends and I order from Boston H Mart because they have delivery from there for free if you order over $50. So there's a lot of ways to get groceries and different things for food. So in terms of that, it's been pretty good as well.
Yeah, I was on campus last semester, which was honestly, I agree, 10 out of 10 as far as COVID safety went. The moment you leave, you notice that there's something special about constantly knowing that you do not have COVID because you're getting tested 3 times a week and every single test is getting returned in 12 hours. So that was really, really good. And beyond those measures, including picking up food at different parts of campus to lower the chances of having long lines and everything, Amherst also changed filtration systems in every building for air filtration. A lot of buildings have temperature scanners that also have facial recognition to see if you're wearing a mask or not. There's a lot of really cool things like that happening all over campus. And it created a bubble. I mean, Amherst set up the Mammoth Market, I think is the name, inside of our student center so that people don't have to go to CVS in town. There's basically a mini CVS built inside of our campus now for students. And it's a lot of things like this that basically make the campus a closed bubble to the extent that that's possible, and even allowed for the gym to be reopened. So students can use the gym at certain time slots in a really safe manner. But that just really shows the extent to which things are safe. And since everyone on campus has a single, and not all the students are on campus right now, a lot of dorms have also been reserved for quarantine and COVID positive students. And so there are entire buildings that are just dedicated to moving students to, if they're quarantined. The school, Amherst has a full-time professional contact tracing team that will do contact tracing immediately the moment that any positive case comes up. So it's, as Blake said, really proactive approach.
So can you guys leave campus, or do you have to stay on campus?
So we have to stay, as I was kind of saying earlier, we have to stay on campus mobility is reduced, which like kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like having all this testing regimen doesn't really chalk up to much if people are just going to go to like big events in town and like get COVID. So mobility is reduced right now. And like, I guess I should say, like, we can't promise anything, but like, I think Amherst the administration is hoping to open fully in fall, like COVID for May.
That's the plan, if it all goes according to the plan. Here's a more, where's that question? Amita asks, could you elaborate on the academic, oh, sorry, that's a different question. We'll get to your question later, Amita. Koa asks, how did the teaching play out during the pandemic, especially, with the restrictions in place?
So currently I have 3 classes that are over Zoom and fully online and 1 that's in person. And for my in-person class, it's my physics lecture, and basically we go into the big lecture hall, and there's like, since we only have about 30 students who are in person in the class, we'll all be very spread out in the lecture hall, and there's a lot of different precautions in place. But otherwise, in terms of online learning, I've had pretty good experiences with like all the professors being trained to use breakout rooms very efficiently and like screen share and everything. Of course, like in the spring, it was a little bit rougher, but since last fall and this spring, all the different like professors have gotten either like TAs who know how to use technology really well or have trained themselves to use different software. So it's been very efficient. And I think personally, it's been better for me to learn like in this format just because like the amount of interaction has definitely been increased for me. For example, one of my professors is doing more like, I guess like person-to-person input through this like online version. So we'll use like the chat function more, and especially since like students sometimes don't feel as confident raising their hand in class or something during discussions, it's been a lot more fruitful in terms of having these kind of conversations. And because Amherst is very discussion-based in terms of how we learn, it's been very, very helpful in sharing perspectives and learning from others as well.
Yeah, I will say that last summer of 2020, the majority of Amherst faculty actually spent that summer taking courses on how to use Zoom to teach in, with better strategies and everything. Last semester I was on campus, and about half of my classes, so 2 out of my 4 classes, had in-person components. My healthcare economics class, which was focused on, the healthcare system in the US, the economics of it under COVID specifically, we were a larger class of about 20 or so students. And so on Tuesdays, we would meet online over Zoom for a lecture. And then on Thursdays, we would meet the students who were on campus would meet in person with the professor, and it was at different time slots. And those off campus would meet online with the professor at another time. And so that was really good to break up in these smaller groups. And I even had a lot of special experiences. One class I took was 9 students who were on campus and 3 professors. And so every class, a different professor would come and take the class with everyone in the classroom on Zoom on their computers, which was really, really fun. And there was one day that we had a movie to watch for that class. And so the professors reserved a large room in the Science Center so that we could watch it safely, and bought us dinner from town and had permission from Amherst to bring it to us so that we could eat afterwards. So they let us vote on which restaurant we wanted, the one that won. Amherst gave them a budget. So for each student, we could order this much, and ended up being whatever you wanted on the menu fit in the budget. So that was really, really special. So even though we are online and things are split, and right now I'm fully online because I'm off campus, you still get that one-on-one interaction. And I will almost say that professors are taking, if that's possible, even more care and attention and time to interact with students, because they know that this is as disruptive for them as it is for us. And so, or the other way around, but yeah. So they are really checking in all the time, making sure that we're okay, and asking for feedback about Zoom and teaching styles.
This is great. So can you guys talk about the advisor system overall at Amherst between students and faculty, and particularly for international students? Are there any additional support for international students if you need help with, for example, writing? Yeah.
So I guess for sort of on the question of writing support, like the code, this is like a very liturgical, like a writing focused college, and like I think the facilities and like support we have for that is reflected in their offerings. So like when you come into Amherst, so the open curriculum is open apart from one class that you have to take, which is like your freshman seminar. It's like and this is a writing-based class to sort of make sure everyone's up to speed on sort of the standard of writing you'll find in your other classes, sort of really introduce you to other freshmen. And that, I think, serves as a really good place to start in like developing your writing. If you still feel that your writing is kind of not lacking, but maybe not at the standard that you want it, we do have an active writing centre on campus. It's basically a whole centre dedicated to students so they can improve their writing. They're staffed by experts. I believe like they all have PhDs in like English and English literature. So a lot of expertise available there for you. You can literally just go in, book appointments, and they will sit with you and spend time with you if like you need to improve your writing. And they can help with that. They're also very good for specific things, like if you're writing a resume or you're writing like an admissions letter for a fellowship or something like that. Like they're very good. And it'll sort of help you acclimatize to, I guess, a more US-centric writing style. So, like, I think professors here are pretty open and like pretty liberal about how you write. They care much more about the content of what you're writing.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I'll just speak on my experience with the Writing Center. I took an intro sociology class in my first year, and there was a paper where I just like didn't know what to write about. Like I didn't understand the readings. I was just really confused. So I went to office hours for my professor for the first time, and I sat in. This is Professor Lumbo in the sociology department, and he helped me so much. Not only just like understand the reading itself, like he went over like the reading page by page and was like, this is what this means, this is what this means. And like, yes, it was a little embarrassing for me, but the fact that he was so willing to help and like so willing to like provide advice was really, really nice. And in the end, I ended up doing well in that class because of the support that I received from my professor. So like, one of the things that makes Amherst unique is that all these professors are here because they want to teach specifically undergraduate students. Like because we only have undergraduate students here and because we have like a really small like faculty to student ratio, this means that these professors are really, really focused on you and your learning. They're not just there to like grade and whatever, they're just here to like actually help you out as students. So I think that's one thing that makes Amherst really, really unique. So if you ever need support, reaching out is like the only thing you need to do and the support will be there for you for sure.
I guess I should preface that. Tim's absolutely right. One of the things, I guess, somewhat unique to Amherst is office hours. So office hours are like specific amounts of time per week set aside by the professor for you to just go talk to them. As Tim said, like our student to faculty ratio is very, very small. So this means you get a lot of one-on-one time with the professor. So like if you're struggling in a certain class and like don't understand the material, you can spend like at length to go talk to that professor and sort of see what they were thinking about that. We also have TA hours, so like if you need even more help, we have students that have taken the class before who are trained by the college to essentially help students with like, their homework or just general questions about the subject, and like that happens every week as well. So like you've got all these hours a week and support available to you. Like as Tim said, teachers here really do care, professors do care. So even if that isn't enough, like you can reach out to your professor and like they will essentially work with you to make sure that you can get through the material and sort of make the most out of their teaching.
And there's a quick note on that. I mean, even if your schedule doesn't line up with the office hours, so every professor is required to have, think about at least 2 hours of office hours per week. And if your schedule doesn't line up with those 2 hours, they are more than happy to have other meeting times just for you that you can schedule on a weekly basis. And I've even had professors give me their cell phone number so I can call them because our schedules really didn't line up and it was an urgent matter. So they're like, just call me while I'm at the supermarket or while I'm at home. And you just talk that way. And the amount, I mean, Writing Center is absolutely fantastic. As a complete humanities person, I use it about every 2 weeks. And they're there to help you at any point in the writing process. I know this was brought up, but unlike a lot of other institutions where the Writing Center is staffed by English majors who are seniors, or people like that, these are full-time trained professionals that are just there every single day to help you with your writing. And it can be at any point in the process. To mention, not having an idea of what to write for a paper, all the way to just reading it, having someone else read it over before you turn it in. And they're there for everyone, from your first essay for your first year seminar on campus all the way until graduate school applications. So it's a great, great resource.
Thank you, guys. Since we're talking about the close interactions between students and faculty here at Amherst, one of the signature characteristics of Amherst or liberal arts colleges is that undergraduate students have more opportunities to get into high-level research or hands-on research with professors. Can you maybe share your experiences with regarding research with professors here at Amherst?
So in terms of research from a STEM perspective, a lot of first-year students have the opportunity to join undergraduate labs and get a lot of bench work in their first year, which I think is also a really, really unique thing to Amherst and liberal arts colleges in general. Personally, I didn't do any research in high school, but last summer, actually, I participated in a program called the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship, SURF, here at Amherst. And I worked in a neuroscience lab remotely, but I was working with Drosophila fruit flies and their neuromuscular junctions. So I got a lot of chance to learn more in a cohort kind of style as well. And currently I'm also working in person in our in a psych lab, the well-being and emotion change lab. And basically I'm having an opportunity to study how emotions are malleable in more of a COVID-19 context as well. And again, I'm able to have these two different research opportunities because I am a student at Amherst and because of these really close student-to-faculty interactions. And these research opportunities can really build up into different things. I know some of my friends who've gone to Texas or different states to present their theses or present their different projects. And personally for myself, next year I'm planning on doing a senior thesis in the music department where I'll be researching mental health and how current music affects mental health. And as I do that, I get a thesis advisor, which is separate from your major advisor. So you get another person specifically to help you with this project. And because you just get a lot of support, just from professors overall, you just have a lot of perspectives to interact with, and you just have a lot of kind of support backing you as you go into these really, really big projects. And I've also heard that different theses are also available to be further pursued and then published, and they also help a lot in terms of helping you get into grad school as well. So again, because you have so many opportunities in research, in producing your own independent work, or even doing something called a special topics where you can just make your own syllabus with the professor and pursue whatever you want to. This really means that the open curriculum isn't just limited to courses that are offered, but whatever you want to study as well and whatever you want to research. And yeah, overall, for anyone who isn't experienced, you can get that experience here at Amherst.
So completely agree. I mean, I have the humanities side of research experience. I'm almost been working for a full year now with the chair of the political science department, Professor Corrales, on research. And what's interesting to say is that, world-class research is going on all the time at Amherst. The distinction is, since there aren't any graduate students, they would normally be our competition. And if you were at another institution with graduate students, undergrads generally would not get those same research positions that you would get at Amherst. What's really special about that is I have friends who were published by the end of their first semester on campus in peer-reviewed journals next to their professor's name, because professors are always looking for students to do research with. It's as easy as going up to a professor saying, I really like the work you're doing, I just took a class with you. Are you looking for any research assistants? And they'll either say yes, or they'll say, not right now, but I will put you on my list for research assistants the moment I need one. So right now I'm working on writing a paper on the evolution of populism in Latin America, comparing a lot of different leaders, including Bolsonaro in Brazil right now. So I'm doing a lot of research on that. And what Tim said about independent research as well, not even with a professor, doesn't just happen with theses. Right now, I'm also writing a legal theory paper under the guidance of my advisor in the Law, Jurisprudence, and Social Thought department that will hopefully be published as a sole author by the end of the semester. But these opportunities are at Amherst, and it's the care that professors have and the constant contact that gives us these opportunities.
That's amazing. Can you guys talk about post-graduation outcomes or career advising here at Amherst? When you think about getting internships or research opportunities, are there supports available, or is there funding available? What kind of supports are there for students, particularly international students?
So in terms of postgraduate outcomes, I don't have any statistics on the tip of my fingers, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty exceptional. I think something like 85% of our students either go to grad school straight after college or Amherst College, or go at some point in their careers. So like continuation onto further education is really high. For those that don't, I think many find promising careers. In terms of more materials on campus, so we do have a dedicated career center called the Loeb Center. They provide a lot of resources, a lot of resources. So one of the things that they do, for example, is called the Charles Hamilton Houston Internship Program. It's essentially a program where employers will offer these internship positions to the college. The college vets them, makes sure they're legit, and will actually pay you to do these internships. So I think it's around $4,500 at the moment that they will give you as a stipend to do an internship over the summer. I should say as well that these internships are usually, I think, exclusive to Amherst College students, so a little less competition there. And then there's opportunities as well offered by alums of the college, because we are a small college, and alums do tend to stay invested in the outcomes and life of the college. They often offer internships. One I applied to this year was offered by an Amherst alum. And these are opportunities I think that you won't get anywhere else, just because Amherst is a very successful community, whether that's academic success, professional success. So I think students here do try their best, and I think that is reflected in many of their outcomes. And importantly, irregardless of what you want to do, the Loeb Center does have resources for you, whether that's academia, business, journalism, non-profits. Also, our students do go into the non-profit space, or if it's to start your own business. It really is an active space, and you can really engage with that actually the moment you step on campus. It's not just something that's limited to upperclassmen. You can engage with the career development as much or as little as you like.
Also, as international students on visas, I'm just going to preface this, it is very difficult to find internships and jobs that will accept students who aren't citizens. And particularly for me as a REMA student, I've been seeing that a lot. But one thing that Blake mentioned in terms of Charles Hamilton Houston program is that if you find an unpaid internship or anything, Amherst will be able to pay for you in that way. So for example, this summer I'm working at a community health center, but as a non-paid intern. But I'm able to do this because Amherst is going to pay for my housing and give me a stipend in order for me to survive in Boston. So it's one really beneficial thing about Amherst is that because we have a lot of support, both financially and in terms of finding the actual internship, this means that you have more opportunity to grow and find different ways to, I guess, reach out as well. And I can also speak from some of my friends who are going into consulting. We have a lot of recent grads who are at companies like Bain, at companies like EY Parthenon. So if you ever want to get to know these companies, it's really easy to network with alums and get to know them in order to find internships there as well.
Yeah, from my experience, so my first year I did an internship. I was remote. I was living in Brazil at home, but it was an internship at a DC-based think tank. And even though it was online, I still got a stipend from Amherst. That helped cover the cost of me, going back and living at home, especially with the way that the exchange system was going. which was very, very helpful. And the Loeb Career Center is actually split, so there are advisors for different industries. And so you will really have specialized knowledge and people with a lot of contacts in a lot of different places that are helping you find an internship or a job. They have special workshops to help you craft a cover letter, a resume. When I got my first internship, I managed to schedule a next day appointment to have a mock interview where Amherst had on file some of the questions that were asked by that think tank. And one of the advisors at the Career Center basically acted as an interviewer and coached me through how do I craft my resume into responses that I can give in an interview. This semester, I interacted a lot with our alumni network. I emailed about 40 alums, got responses from around 32 of them, and that ultimately culminated in me getting an internship position in DC for this summer that's in person with working with criminal public defense in the federal court system. And so that really shows, I mean, you have alums who graduated, you know, in class of 1984 is the alum I most connected with, and I'm going to be working with this summer. And they, you know, say, let's have a call. I really like, I'm going to write you a recommendation letter for the job, all of that stuff. So it's a really interconnected and tight-knit alumni network.
That's pretty amazing. And once you become an Amherst student, you can access the alumni database. Is that what you utilize, Alex?
Yeah, so I went through 783 alumni working in nonprofit law and selected the 40 that most interested me based on where they worked, both company and location, and emailed them.
Great. Let me see if there are any other questions that we can cover from our students here. Tim, I think you actually answered one of the previous questions when you in your message here about meeting with the pre-health advisor. There was a previous question about how, actually directed to you specifically, about how pre-med works during pandemic. Would you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
So in terms of being pre-med in a pandemic, I guess it's definitely harder to come through with shouting opportunities or internships, but a lot of my friends have been doing things remote. So for example, my roommate, the music major, she's doing a remote internship she did a remote internship last summer with Boston Children's Hospital. So she did a lot of remote research, and this summer she's, because she's also an EMT, she's getting vaccinated and doing work at Harvard Medical School, and both these opportunities were from Amherst alum. So again, it's really easy to get connected in that way. In terms of on campus, we have a lot of different pre-medical groups who will work to give you community hours. For example, I know there's a group that's working with people with developmental disabilities and calling them every week or every 2 weeks just to like check up on them and like give them time. So I guess like because we have a pretty connected network in terms of pre-med, and because the advisors know a lot of different med school, like I guess admissions people, it means that you have a lot of insight in terms of like what you need to do, but also like you just have a lot of like alums connected with you. And in terms of actual coursework, you have like a framework of what you need to take, but also like you get support in terms of like making sure that those things are being done. So pre-health isn't exactly a major here at Amherst, just a path. So you could major in literally anything and become pre-med per se. I know like classics pre-med major, like pre-med students. I myself am like I'm technically like a music student as well. Like you can do whatever you want, but because Amherst has this open curriculum, you have a chance to both like pursue the career you want, but also get the studies that you want as well. So yeah.
Here's a question actually about admission, so I'll answer it. How would first generation students be considered in the admission process? Because the admission office utilized this holistic review process, we take into a lot of the information that we get from your application. If you're first generation, we'll see that as a really helpful context, or low income, or high school, and the information, the context of your high school, what courses are offered there. So those will all be considered. There's no one thing that's going to determine a direct result from your application. We will still be looking at everything that's included in your application. Okay, let me see if there are other questions. So we have 2 minutes left. I know many of our students here are prospective students that they might be thinking about applying to Amherst or other schools in the U.S. Do you guys have any suggestions or lessons learned when you were in their shoes before coming to Amherst during the admission process? Any wisdom that you can share with us?
I would personally definitely say to talk to current students. That's like the really, really big thing. Because I know when I was applying to schools back in, it was like 3 years ago now. But when I was applying, I didn't consider like student life or like location or any of these things as like really big. I was like, I don't know. But it turns out like these factors are really, really crucial in like helping you thrive at a school. So make sure you're asking about student life, making sure that you know the size of the school and like what the school community is like, because all of these things are going to be really crucial to your 4 years in university. So make sure you're reaching out to current students. Like most of us have time and like have pride in our school to like answer questions for you. So make sure you're doing that.
I think the big thing for, would be to start early. It's like a Common App, research, like looking into financial aid, getting the documents for that. Start early. Like you'll thank yourself later. This is a long process, especially compared to like some other university application systems in other countries. So yeah, definitely start early, and like it can be expensive as well. So like if you qualify them, take advantage of waivers. Like start early, collect your research, take advantage of waivers. Like, and everything else like is just up to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially on the research side of it, I think that especially, I mean, since we're in a pandemic, you can't exactly visit Amherst right now. Hopefully soon you'll be able to, but going through even the website, taking a look at classes that you would possibly want to take at an institution, looking at exactly what majors are offered, how easy is, would you see yourself at a university where you can double major easily, or one where you wouldn't? Do you want a place where there's an open curriculum or general distribution requirements? It's a lot of research and reflecting and doing as much as you can online to find out, where can I see myself best? And what am I looking for? Because once you figure out what you're looking for, even if it's just the general geographic area in the US, it'll help narrow down a lot and make your ultimate list a lot easier to figure out.
Thank you, guys. If you are willing, feel free to share emails with our attendees here so they can email later for questions. But I think this is all for today's session. We really appreciate your taking the time to learn about Amherst and to interact with us. And if you have any additional questions about admission or financial aid, please feel free to reach out to my office at admission@amherst.edu, which I'll send in chat as well. And we'll be able to help you with that. But if you have any questions about student life in Amherst, feel free to utilize our wonderful students here at the college. And we wish you all good luck and take care and stay well. And hopefully we'll one day see you on campus. Bye-bye.